Hey, welcome back to Garbeardia. Wargames delivered sent me a little thing to review, so I figured I'd show you guys what it is and what it's all about. So Wargames Delivered started making their own kind of starter sets, and they're surprising and thankfully all the right ways. I have to say, this is the first time that I've personally seen someone include mixing balls into their actual starter kit, which is, again, rather surprising. It's a 55 paint box where you get 4 brushes, you get 4 empty bottles for custom mixing, the mixing balls, and 55 paints. And they're all solid paints that new painters are going to need. Like there's no real filler paints here. They're all colors you're probably going to use for most of your models. Now I went around and looked around at a few of the other sets, and I didn't really see any that were similar to Wargames Delivered in any way, shape, or form. And when you go through these paint sets, I mean, usually they're like made for a certain model. Like the Warhammer Age of Sigmar one is $30, sure, but it only has 6 paint pots, 3 models, and a single brush. The D&D one, again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 paints and a single brush for $23. The Reaper one, it's 11 paints with 2 paint brushes, a guidebook, and 3 miniatures. The game color, which is one of the actual few good model paints, like say in comparison to Army Painter, they're one of the ones that are up there with Army Painter and Citadel is game color. And their 16 color set is $59 with no paint brushes. I mean, and then the Star Wars one, like the Star Wars Legion paint set, it's only very certain amounts. It's basically all shades of white, gray, and black, with no brushes included. The Vallejo model, like there's a 72 color Vallejo set with 3 Tory brushes and like 72 paints, but that's $229. I mean, the only real comparison I can find to this set is the 72 color basic Vallejo set and the Vallejo WizKids set, which only, one's got 40, one's got 72, and one's got 3 brushes, one's got 0, but they are ranged from around $299 to $80 or $63 in this case. This one's being on sale. So, in terms of paint sets, this one from Wargames Delivered is in a very, it's in a niche. It really is, because you get a whole paintbrush set minus dry brushes. You get 55 colors. You get your 4 spare mixing bottles. You get the fucking paint dropper mixers. I mean, it's a lot in one little set. So much to my happiness, this one wasn't shaken to death by my postman. I do a little victory dance due to that, because usually when I get these, the postman just shakes that damn box and there are paints everywhere. So the first thing you get is the Hobby Products little booklet. It's like a little, what else y'all can buy, other brushes, other paints, foliage for your model bases, snippers, green stuff, all the whole paint selection, all the other junk. It's all in that little booklet. So if you need something else, you can find it. There's a little booklet guide where it tells you like how to use this stuff if you really want to. Just the basic how to, here's the colors, here's what this does kind of booklet. And then of course, if it's broken or smashed, give them a call or an email and they'll replace it. It's always good to have those on hand. Don't lose them. So the brushes were all separated in like each little layer. It was kind of interesting. And here's one of the brushes you get. I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling these out and having them all in a certain way. So first thing up are these little mixing balls. Now you may think you don't need these, but you don't really need them, no, but they are nice to have. And what you do is you simply pop the top off one of your, I'm gonna use this little spare mixing bottle here, but more or less you take the top off of your bottle and then you pop in these 2 little metal balls. You put 1 or 2 or 3. I would recommend not using 1. If you just use 1, you can accidentally plug your nozzle. So always use 2 or more, but not like 6. You don't, just 2 will do. Something that's gonna go back and forth in the paint and help mix it up while you're shaking it. That's what they're really there to do. So starting out with the first set, you have some shades of white and a brush on primer and a turquoise and a quick wash medium. It actually includes a bottle of brush on varnish. Varnishes are useful if you want to protect your paints. If you're going to do a lot of heavy game time with these, or a lot of expected wear and tear, it's definitely good to put primer on your models. You don't always have to. I sometimes do, sometimes don't, depends on the model, but it's always good to have brush on primer, because unlike brush on primer, spray on primers can have an issue where they can cause models to get cloudy. So while spray on varnish is easier, it's always good to have brush on varnish on hand, and it's really nice they included both brush on varnish and the little metal balls. But here are your blues. You have the usual deep blue, ultramarine blue, and all the fun stuff, the certain shades. And you got your, I think it's like, this is shades of like, I guess it's white, because you got bone and mummy robes, and you got a few greens going on there. It's kind of like a progression of colors, I guess. But it's more or less your like old worn white color. Then you have your browns: oak brown, fir brown, leather brown. I think that's monster brown and desert yellow. So all the browns you need. Then you have kind of like your yellowish colors. You got moon dust. You got your flesh colors. Then you got this dry rust effect paint that I really haven't experimented. I've never actually had in my hands on a bottle yet, so I need to play with that and see how it works. I try out the blood effect in the paint through, and I wasn't too fond of how pink it was. So I'll use the rust bottle and experiment. But again, it's good to get free effect bottles. I mean, it can't hurt, you know what I mean? Then you got your grays, your white, ash gray, uniform gray, necromancer cloak, and dark stone. I do like the necromancer cloak color. It's a really good gray. Then you got your purples. You got your warlock purple, alien purple, orc blood, grimoire purple, and crusted sore. I do like the warlock purple. It's a very fun color. It's not really pink, but it's not really purple. I use it on the feathers on the model we paint in this video, and I actually really liked how that color came out. Then you got your greens: angel green, wizard orb, green skin, goblin green, and jungle green. I go through a lot of jungle green, and I cannot figure out why. Your reds, there's that glistening blood effect. Wasn't too sure on that one. Dragon red, pure red, lava orange, and what's that say? Demonic yellow. That's okay. I thought it was Damon's yellow. Matt Damon yellow. But yeah, that blood effect, I don't know. I put it on the model and you can see what it looks like, but I've had a lot better blood technical paints. Then you have your tones. You got matte black, dark tone, strong tone, soft tone, and flesh wash. If you want an unknown oil look, you go for dark tone. For all, like, literally soft tone, strong tone, and flesh wash are all brown tones. So, and then you have your metallics. They give you shining silver, plate metal, gunmetal, greedy gold, and bronze, and they're all actually really good metallics. I rate their metallics up with. The Army Painter metallics are in line with Vallejo's for sure, and they're better than Citadel's. But yeah, the metallics are where you definitely want to have those little mixing beads in. They really do help keep those paints good and together. Then you got your brushes. That should give you 4 really good brushes. You get a large standard basing brush, a standard brush, a detail brush, and then like a little micro brush. Now, they don't give you any dry brushes, which is a shame, but at the same time, most box sets, if they do, will give you kind of like a flat dry brush. And flat dry brushes, that they flick. So flat dry brushes, while they flick, I mean, it's a dry brush, sure, but that dry brush, when you come off the back end of that dry brush flick, it's going to flick paint everywhere. And unlike most other brushes, like usually the brushes I like have a big, thick, triangular kind of holder place to it. These are very thin. So these thin brushes may cause a bit of hand cramps because you're kind of pinching it, you know. But it's still, I mean, they're still really good brushes despite the shaft. Because you can see how with that triangular brush, I get my fingers on it. It's nice and comfortable for people with big hands. the brush is a bit smaller, so it may cause hand strain. But then again, you know, they come with a pack and they're really good brushes. So that's the only real minus to those brushes is the fact they're just really thin. I got big meaty man hands, so it's hard to get a good hold on small brushes. But they feel good. They feel good. They feel supple and soft. They hold their tip really well. So for a beginner painter, these brushes are going to set them up in a real good place. Like you're going to figure out what you like, what you don't like with these brushes pretty quick, and they're really forgiving brushes, which is really, really good to have in a starter set for sure. So while they don't include a dry brush, Army Painter does sell what I consider excellent dry brushes. These are the master class, or let's see, master. Yeah, these are the master class miniature dry brushes, and they're soft and they're plush. So when you're dry brushing, they don't flick paint everywhere. They won't flick white or flick metal or flick black or any other color onto your model somewhere else, because the bristles aren't stiff enough, but they still build up color like a dry brush does. Female modelers may recognize it as more like their makeup brushes. And they really are. They're like a makeup brush. They really are like a blending brush or whatever have you. But they're really good to have. And Army Painter does sell them, and they sell 3 of them for a pretty good price actually. So I would recommend with this set picking up another little side set of those masterclass dry brushes for sure. Like that'd be the best thing you can do for sure, just to get started. So as we go along, I'll start painting this model with these brushes. Now I thought, should I do a simple model? Because anyone can paint a Space Marine or some broad surface model with these brushes and get a job done. But I want you guys to see what you can do with 99 or 90% of your kit. Now I did change out my dry brushes, and I did use my regular paint thinner. I use Vallejo thinner medium. I saw there was a medium for washes in the kit, but I wasn't sure if that was going to do what I wanted it to do, and I just figured I'd play it safe for now and sub in my preferred thinner medium. But I would reckon that the wash, because it says for washes, I wasn't sure if I want to use a wash thinner or how that would react with the paint, but I figured it'd be fine. But just in case, I went with the my regular Vallejo thinner. And Army Painter does sell thinner mediums, so you can probably pick it up from them as well. But I start out using these brushes. And the only other brush I use is an Army Painter dry brush because I like how it looks. So you can get everything you want out of this kit and on that model with very little sub outs. Because even then, you could just use regular water to thin your mediums if you really wanted to. I mean, you could completely ignore both mediums, whether it's thin medium or wash medium, and just use water to thin your paints. You could definitely do it just fine. I like how the paint looks with the thinner medium. and I am sorry, Wargames, for doing that, but I just like how that resin thinner reacts with paint. But I decided to figure out how much can you use with just the large brush in medium, because you can do fine details, sure, but what if someone's too afraid to use that thin brush? So I use the basing brush and the regular brush, this what regular standard brush, to paint this entire model, except for the dry brushing. So I'm just going to go at it and paint this model up using all the paints out of the set. So except for my thinning medium, which you could just use water for, you could definitely do this model the exact way I do it. So sit back and enjoy the slideshow. So, final thoughts on a set. For sure, like I can't. I looked. I looked for a while, right? And I couldn't really find a set like this. Now, it is a little expensive. I mean, it was $174.99. So, my job here is to decide whether or not this is worth the price. So, I'm gonna go ahead and dig into it a little bit. After doing the math just on the paints alone, each bottle is gonna be like $3.10 if you're going purely dollar the paint. So 55 paints for $3.01. I believe it was, yeah, $3.01, $1.10. I'm not good at math. I'm a redneck and I joined the army. I don't do numbers, but that's not counting in the 4 brushes, the mixing balls, and the 4 extra little pots. Now, in terms of paint quality, Army Painter paint is good. I'm not exactly sold on that glistening blood effect. It didn't really glisten. It kind of turned a bit pink. Not so sure on that one. But at least, you know, they included, I guess. That's something. They give you all 4 tones. You got dark tone, strong tone, flesh wash, and soft tone, which are all really handy and good inks. I mean, they're slowly closing that gap with Citadel in their washes, and I mean they're like almost there. I do think their flesh wash and soft tone is better than Reichland flesh and all that junk, but known oil versus dark tone, that's a fight that's gonna be for the ages. I swear, like between those 2 tones, it's back and forth. It seems like it depends on the pot almost. I think each brush there was, I think, $2.50 a piece. So, or was it? Hold on. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So each brush is $4.50 a piece. So basically, 2 brushes will be about $9. So you have $18 if my math holds out. Which again, Wargames don't. I'm not here for math. If my math is right, it should be about $4.50. We'll round up. 5, 10, 15, 20. Yeah. So it'll be about $18. Of brushes, boom, right there. That's $18 of brushes. So, I mean, that already there is a great value for beginners. This isn't really a set you would buy for an advanced user. Like, if all your paints get ruined, or your kid destroys your set, or your brushes, or your brand new painter, then yeah, I mean, it would make sense to get this set because you get you get 55 paints, you get 4 brushes that are good quality. You saw me paint with them, and painting with them was enjoyable. I mean, they held their point really good. They were really responsive, a bit thin in the hand, but I got large hands. So for like my daughter, she'd be like, okay, paintbrush. I'm like, paintbrush. So while they're not made for huge hands or big hands, they're still 4 included good quality brushes that can do everything except dry brush. But even then, Army Painter sells dry brushes you can use, and I would advise buying the Masterclass ones because they work the best. I don't really care too much about the 5 mixing bottles. I mean, they're definitely handy. They would have been better off doing smaller ones because I'm not sure what you would put inside those big old bottles, because they're the same size as the regular bottles. So they wouldn't be better off including the little mini ones they have. So that's neither here or there. The mixing balls is cool. I gotta admit, including the mixing balls is cool. I couldn't really find, because I googled, of course, some may slip under my radar. I get that, I'm not infallible, but I couldn't really find any other sets that included these little metal mixing balls. So you can use 2 things to help keep your paints mixed up. You can use these metal mixing balls, or you can use what's called boiling stones to do it instead of made out of glass. But these balls are made out of stainless steel, so they shouldn't really rust in the first place. And even then, if you go through paints quick enough, you could keep them pretty much good to go as you're constantly changing them out. Easy to use. The paint pots, I mean, the little lip comes off pretty easy. You just gotta get something thin in there and kind of pop it off. But reviewing this paint set, I mean, it is just a paint set, but is it a good paint set? Is it a paint set you should buy? Is it a paint set you should spend money on to get and complete your paint collection, or to begin your journey in painting miniatures? Just comparing it to other paint sets, it is the superior paint set. Is it worth the price? I would kind of think so. If not just for the selection, just for convenience. Because if you're a well-seasoned painter, you get paintballs everywhere, right? So you may not need 55 new paints. If you're a new painter who's like, hey, I have no paints, I have no brushes, I ain't got nothing, and I want to paint my minis, then yeah, get the Wargames, because there are other ones, like Vallejo has one, but that's $200+. All the other sets, you get one paintbrush and a rather lackluster slate of paints, or you get a good selection of paints with no paintbrushes, no extras. Wargames delivered and Army Painter kind of came together and made this nice little tidy newcomer package where you can start painting out the box, like, because you got all your paint sets here. You may have to buy a certain color, like I want a brighter orange or something like that. You can go find that. But in terms of all your basic colors, basic metallics, basic washes, a few effects, it really is hard to beat. Because I know they sent it to me to review, and everyone wants to be kind to those who send them stuff. But you guys know that I'm kind of a turd. I don't really do that. I'm kind of a rude bastard. Everyone knows that. But even I have to admit that this set is highly competitive. Because it just is. I mean, the 4 brushes, the mixing balls, you get all these paints. It's extremely competitive. And for $174, $174.99, $175, it really is worth the price. Especially for brand new painters who have nothing. You have all you need in this box. Besides this box set, all you need is a glass of water and something to paint with. I mean, that's really all you need. A basic painting setup could use this box set just fine out the box. A little cup of water, a miniature, something to kind of put your paints on, to thin them out, and you're good to go. I mean, it won't make you a master class, obviously. It won't make you a golden demon painter overnight, but it is an excellent place to start, for sure. So then, at this point, all of your bases are covered. And it's affordable. It really is. I've paid a lot more for a lot less, and that fact hurts me every day because those Citadel pots are already bad. And I've spent all that damn money on them, and they're already wasteful. And I think more folks who use the dropper bottles will learn to appreciate the dropper bottle, the humble dropper bottle, because they don't dry out, because they can't, because they're always fully sealed all the time. Even if your little lid comes up a bit inside, that little screw cap keeps everything airtight. So Wargames delivered. Thank you for sending this set to me. I got one more set to review for you guys, but this is definitely an A+. I mean, it really is. It's the fact that everything that was included. You guys knocked it out of the park for sure. You and Army Painter. But yeah, if you're a brand new painter who's just getting into it and you're like, I don't want to spend, you don't want to nickel and dime yourself to death on painting supplies, this is a good place to start. This isn't everything you need. You're gonna, as you paint, you're gonna realize, oh, I want this and I want that. It's just a great launching point that you can buy and get into the hobby, and that's the important part: getting into the hobby, getting your feet wet, getting your brush wet, and getting paint on models. And this is a great place to begin that journey. So Wargames delivered. Thank you for being brave enough to send me your paints, because you guys know if something's wrong with these damn things, I'm going to tell you. Like that glistening blood effect, paint, it wasn't really glistening blood. It was more like pink. Like, I have the model next to me, and it's not very shiny blood. Like, it's got a slight shine to it, but it dried like nail polish pink. So that's definitely a downside to this kit. Is just that glistening blood paint. I don't know. It's nice that those included, but it kind of turns pink when it dries. Not so sure about that, but I don't know. I'm also colorblind, so who knows? but no, it's not very shiny. So in terms of downsides, not many. Thin brushes, not good for large hands. Glistening blood effect, meh. But it's definitely tons more pluses than minuses. So again, Wargames delivered. Thank you for sending these to me. I will review your super duper big ass paint set coming up here next. And until I see you guys on this side of the veil, this has been Guard Bro. Today we painted a frog man, and this is Guard Beard.